First of all, welcome everyone to the January 20th meeting, 2022 of Historic Districts Commission of Hingham, Massachusetts. This meeting is being held remotely as an alternate means of public access pursuant to Chapter 20 of the Acts of 2021, temporarily amending certain provisions of the open meeting law. You are hereby advised that the meeting and all communications during this meeting may be recorded by the town of Hingham in accordance with the open meeting law. If any participant wishes to record this meeting, please notify the chair at the start of the meeting in accordance with Mass General Law, circa 330A, section 20F, so that the chair may inform all other participants of said recording. Okay. And let's see, our first business of order tonight is Town of Hingham. Well, I should announce, first of all, the three voting members tonight to make a quorum will be Justin Aborn, Marianne Donaldson, and Carol Piles.
Carol, I do need to say that for the 1035 Main Street, I'm in a butter. So I would probably have to recuse myself for that.
It's up to you. You don't necessarily have to for that instance, but you could.
Can I speak?
And
you
not
can
vote?
speak as an abutter, but I think you're probably wise to. We've got Daniel here.
Okay, so became
Oh, Daniel here?
He's on board. So
Now-
for our first hearing, we're all set to go, and then
So Marianne will not be voting tonight, just the three?
she'll be voting on this one. You appointed her, but I think after that we've got
Quorum.
Daniel. Yeah,
Okay, good.
Okay.
So the first one is the Town of
Daniel
Hingham.
can vote.
Yeah,
Daniel is voting as well.
good. I don't see him, but you're telling me he's there somewhere.
Yeah, he is.
Okay,
Live and well.
good. Good to have you. So the first thing on the agenda is the Town of Hingham's Otis Street Town Pier, located in the Lincoln Local Historic District, to reconstruct 500 linear feet of the existing bulkhead and construct 125 linear feet of new stone revetment. So this comes to us because it is hardscape, right? There's no new housing, there's no new buildings going up.
Well,
One new building.
There's a new building going up.
Mr. Gagnon?
Okay, why don't you take it away and let us know what's
All
happening?
right. Excuse me. So if I may share my screen. I have
Mhm.
some-
Please.
some Images for you guys. This one I want to share.
Ah,
See it?
yes.
Oops, I'm sorry. Can you see that now? I'm sorry. Jump screens.
Yep.
Yeah, it's great. It's great.
Very
Thank you.
Excellent. So I'm here before you representing the town of Hingham. My name is Dan Gagney, a professional engineer with Beals and Thomas. Here joining me this evening is J.R. Fry, the town engineer, Marco Boeri, the chair of the Harbor Development Committee, and Bill Reardon of the
That
Harbor.
looked like Marco.
yeah.
All right. So this evening, we're here to discuss the reconstruction project at Town Pier. So as you can see, and I'm sure you're aware, Town Pier is a 100-year-old granite block seawall wharf that's located on Otis Street between the existing public boat ramp, Red Eye Roasters. This is the Whitney Wharf, and the recently constructed Whitney Wharf pedestrian bridge. So our project is to reconstruct the existing seawall and revetment section in here. What's existing on the site is the wall, the timber access to the timber floats, town floats. There's parking on the wharf currently. The Iron Horse Monument sits about here. There were some other monuments in the past located around here, but I believe most of them have been relocated at this point.
Mhm.
The Harbor Master Shed is located here, and there's a sewer pump out associated with pump out facilities for the harbor. Located here, the existing parking entrances on the Otis Street, and there's a small section of beach area here, which is existing. So the town and the Harbor Development Committee went through a long process of trying to establish what is the best solution for repairs to this structure. We were contracted with the town back in 2015, I believe. We did a visual assessment of the structure and noted that it was in deteriorating shape. At that point, the town was looking at increasing the height of it. And from what we could see out there, it wasn't a good idea to just go and raise the height of it. So they went through a painstaking process of trying to establish what was the best solution out here. They considered steel sheet pile bulkheads out here. They looked at doing a concrete vertical face seawall out here. When it all boiled down to it, the town and the Harbor Development Committee decided it was best to stay with the existing type of construction out here, the granite block seawall. This seawall, through the 100 years it's been out here, the maintenance that's been needed on it has been very minimal, and the town determined it was actually a fairly good cost benefit and a result for using the same granite block type of seawall. Now, as I'm sure you're aware, during a storm or even during a king tide, a spring king tide out here, the wharf is underwater. It becomes submerged. So as part of the process, we worked with the town and they developed a target elevation that they wanted to come up. They decided that coming up about 4 feet to elevation, so 16.2, just for convenience, it's going to be the same height as the existing top of wall over at Whitney Wharf. That's our target elevation, and that's what we're looking to continue as we move forward with projects throughout the harbor here. So what will happen along the wall is we will deconstruct it as it sits. Take out all the block. We're going to reuse as much of the block as we can. That's very valuable product. We're going to reuse whatever we can to reconstruct this. We'll probably have to bring in a considerable amount of additional stone, but bring in additional stone and raise this structure up to that elevation, that 4 feet higher that we're looking for. Now, excuse me, I'm going to jump along to another picture so you have an idea of what we're doing there. This is the engineering drawings that we've been working with. You guys received these. They're not as pictorial and easy to understand as the aerial, so I'll go back to those in a moment. So here, I'm going to zoom in on this detail here. This detail here shows the existing seawall located about this here. This is the existing grade at the top. The seawall comes down like this, meets the existing beach grade. Now the new wall, when we reconstruct it, it's going to be that 4 feet taller. We're going to provide a curb along the top, something that the town pier doesn't currently have. Kind of a safety device at the top, just so that we have a break between the pedestrian path and the top of the wall. So this width, we're raising it 4 feet. As it sits now, it's a pretty decent drop off the front of that wall. And I know there has been issues with people or vehicles going off the top of this wall in the past. So we're looking to provide this curb bumper up on top to protect what's in front there. Additionally, the town has kind of forethought that in the future, they might need more protection here. And we've actually laid out this wall so that if this 4 feet doesn't end up being enough, that the town can actually take this top block off, slide another block in here and put it back up and raise this thing up about another 2 feet if needed.
Like Legos.
Yes. Yeah. It's kind of looking forward. It didn't make sense to do it now with some of the climate projections, but if it ends up being as drastic as a lot of the climate projections are portraying, the town may want to go and do this in 10, 15 years. We'll see what it comes to. So that's built in this modularity so that the town can move forward. I'm going to zoom back out here. All right, so here is the existing a photo from the boat ramp of the existing town pier. See granite blocks, various sizes as through. We're going to reuse most of that as much as that as we can. And then we've developed this rendering that kind of shows what it's going to look like once we raise it up. It's going to be taller, and there's nothing we can do about it to kind of make it look less of a wall. It's not something we can do too much about.
Excuse me, does the land come up with it?
Yes, actually it does.
Okay.
Yes. So it's not going to be just a big wall with it's staying down behind. No, it's going to be only that 18-inch curb behind it, and then the walkway is going to be behind that as well.
Good.
Now, again, this is a 16-foot tall wall that we've got going around here. So we are proposing a fence along the top of it, some type of safety protection along the top. It's something that's not there now, and something that should be implemented at the site. And now I'm going to jump back to the plan so you can see the detail of what we're looking at for that. It's a fairly limited railing. This is very similar. If you've been to the Situate Harbor, along their inner harbor there, they have the same type of railing there. This is a pressure treated post with galvanized pipe rails that run between it, kind of relatively benign looking. It's not as intrusive as either of the fences that are over at Whitney Wharf, where they have the narrow spacing on the aluminum fencing, or they also have a similar galvanized pipe railing, but it's regular spacing on it as it goes out. So this kind of is a compromise between what is over there and having nothing at all. Now, if we'll zoom back out, that's that. And then, so the area between, and jump back up to the area. I apologize for jumping back and forth, but it's much easier for me to explain and show you where I'm talking about. So this area here, there's about 50 feet of wall, and it's a very low wall. We're looking to remove that and replace it in this path here with a slopestone revetment. Now, slopestone revetment is a fairly steep revetment, but it's big block stone that we kind of pile together. So he has this nice protection. It comes up to a constant elevation at the top. It's going to match the same height as the wall, this area here. And then it's going to tie in with the boat ramp and their repairs that are going on over here. And we're going to have it, the contractor's going to have to make that mesh the best they can, because we don't know exactly what's getting constructed out there with the boat ramp. That's a separate piece getting done by the state. So just so you have a profile of what that looks like. So here is that revetment. This is our elevation up here, that's 16.2. And again, we're set back farther, so it doesn't stick up as high as it looks like as the wall does. So it's about 4 feet high at its highest point above the existing grade. It's going to come back, and then we're going to we have a very robust planting plan that is going to be implemented behind all of these improvements. Now, that is the seawall pieces. Now, if we want to step back, there was mention of a building. So the existing harbor master's shed is located over here. And the harbor master has requested that as part of this project that we look to relocate and reconstruct a larger shed for him. And it's going to be located over here towards the boat ramp, where he wants to have better eyes on what's happening at the boat ramp and the parking area over here. So we're still working on some of the nuts and bolts of the details on what that is going to be. And we are happy to hear any requests for colors or cladding or what you guys need to make that fit into your scheme. For your understanding of what's going on over here. That was kind of a little bit of a late addition, and I know you guys probably haven't seen too much on that. It was something that it just with the holidays and getting our submissions into you guys, that just we did not have all that info in front of us. Okay, so now I mentioned the building. Now we have a harbor walk going in. So there's the existing pathway that comes in, wraps around. We're going to be continuing our existing harbor walk that we've been developing. It's going to wrap around. It's going to provide access out to the timber walkway to Whitney Wharf. We're going to have a multimodal path that connects into the multimodal path that's being proposed with the 3A reconstruction project. It goes all the way around the site. And we're showing this as something that impervious surface that matches the existing harbor walk. I believe, and JR, correct me if I step out of line, but we're looking at doing pavers of some type for this.
So it won't match what has already been put down in the harbor?
No, I think it would.
Carol, could I chime?
Yes, go ahead, Bill.
Could I chime in? Carol, Bill Reardon calling by phone. Sorry, I'm not able to be with you visually. The intent, and Carol, you're very, very familiar with all of this because of your Community Preservation Committee efforts over several years. The intent is to continue the brick look that we have running from the bathing beach and then across the so-called Selectmen's Parcel. So the objective is to have the look and feel of this be consistent across the harbor, and that's the intent here.
Okay.
Just inside the wall that Dan is projecting, with this lip of roughly 18 inches for better safety protection for people on the walk itself.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you. I apologize if I misspoke on that. I didn't intend to be pavers or the bricks, not paving, but
yeah.
Moving on. So that wraps around the project, connects into the existing access ways. We've removed all of the parking off of the wharf.
Great.
We've maintained, I believe we lost one parking space in this reconfiguration, and that was because we had to add in the connection through for the 3A multimodal path. So we've done very good on maintaining our parking through here. We're restriping this area so it's more efficient. This is going to be a one-way access through here. Let's see. Now over at the timber pier and access to the floats, well, we're coming up 4 feet, so that's going to have a way of getting there. Now we looked at a few different alternatives. One was to have a gap in the wall and you could just walk right out. And again, that didn't meet our resiliency and our flood protection goals. So what we're proposing is a series of timber ramps, accessible ramps that can get you up and over the top of that curb so that you can have access. A little ramp down back onto the timber pier, and then you can get out to the boats as you need to. And then I mentioned we have a robust planting plan. We're removing 1 tree for the harbor master building. We're providing several trees and compensation for that, and then providing plantings throughout the site, including a little area over here.
Has the owner of Red Eye Roaster been following all this with you? Is he going to
Very carefully.
He's going to lose a couple of parking spaces, right?
I don't think so, Carol.
No.
Don't people park
No,
out on
the
the wharf?
intent, Carol, is that I think Dan mentioned that of the total, it's going to be 1 less parking lot. The owner of Red Eye Roasters currently has an arrangement with the town where he has non-exclusive use of a certain number of parking spaces. I don't recall the number. I think it may be 16, something on that order. And those are still going to be there given the new parking design with angled parking going on both sides of the path between Red Eye Roasters and the boat ramp.
Great. This is like watching a
Nick
dream come true.
Oh, it's a 9-year-old dream, Carol.
I know. I feel like we've talked about it 1,000 times, and here it is.
Well, it occurred to me as we were gearing up for this meeting, and I'll be very brief, that we have been before the Historic District Commission previously, when we were first raising this and bringing it to town meeting. So this is the second time.
Well, you're getting better with age.
May I just, this is Andrea, Bill. I was going to
Yes.
mention that the more recent members of the district's commission would not have had an opportunity to see that presentation. However, I have to say, I am just, their preference was clearly to have the granite block. And so we appreciate the fact that, you followed through with that, because it's the concrete, and I think the other one was steel piers, perhaps. Yeah. They were absolutely not as attractive. So the fact that you're going to be using granite block is much appreciated. Thank you.
It's wonderful.
Now, I think I've completed my my presentation. If you guys have any other questions that we can help to answer, that would be
Yes,
great.
can you show us the connection to the Harbor Walk going the other way? Do you have a slide or anything that will show how they connect? Or will they just walk across the parking lot and then start up again at this point?
Carol, we're in the middle of another conversation with the state regarding, they are going to this winter rebuild the town boat ramp, which
Right.
desperately needs to be reconstructed. That is permitted. There is a contractor who has won the award, and the work will be done between now and roughly May 15th.
Oh, wow.
Part of that had been an expectation that the state would have sufficient funds to redo the parking lot as well.
Mhm.
Because the bids came in so much higher, they don't have that resource. We are hoping to, at some point, with the state, carry the brick harbor walkway, which right now ends as you leave the parking lot for the boat ramp.
Mhm.
And just as you step on to what used to be called the Selectman's Parcel, the Bandstand Parcel, as you remember, the brick walkway starts there.
Right.
And goes all the way across the bathing beach and into the Grove, and ends up on the sidewalk heading toward Crow Point.
Mhm.
So at this point, there will be a gap across the front of that parking lot. We intend to ultimately, fill that in as well with the same treatment of a brick walkway.
Could we paint it in for now until we actually
red paint. I think Randy can come up with that.
I think it's called Trump the Wheel. Just make it look like bricks. That's terrific to see all this getting done.
Can I ask a couple of questions?
Sure.
And there are three. One, I am wondering, is there any lighting proposed or contemplated? And I'll just ask my three questions and let them be answered as we see fit. I wonder about the pressure treated posts for the fence. Would those be the typical green that don't feel very historic to me? And then are we actually asking for any sort of approval on the harbor master building tonight, or perhaps just the some sense of the committee on the location of it? And I'll just idly suggest that if it matched the structure and style of the new snack shack structure down at the bathing beach, that my guess would be that would be well received. And I'll mute now and hear whatever comments are shared.
Carol, may I address this question?
Please.
Okay, so on lighting, I don't think there's any specific plans yet, but that will be part of the master plan that has gone out to proposal right now. So that will look at that. There's some feeling among some members in the community that they don't want lighting, because of light pollution, and others would like lighting for safety. And so that's something that we need to look at a little more carefully. But as far as I'm aware, unless you tell me otherwise, Dan Gagny, I don't think we're looking at putting lighting up, right?
So that's not something to approve or deny tonight.
So I will say that there is an existing floodlight on the pole that the harbor master maintains. That's on the utility pole. I believe it's by the boat ramp, Dan.
Yes,
In around here.
correct.
And no, not, yes, over there by the boat ramp. And so there is an intention to maintain that floodlight. And then I would imagine that there might be one or two building mounted downlights or uplights around the perimeter. That would be at a minimum. But again, if we're willing to kind of defer any kind of decision on the building per se, and we can approach you at a later date once we have some more detail, we do appreciate kind of the direction that you've suggested. And I may reach out to Visevi. So
Sevi.
continue.
Well, I would add to that, and Bill will recall that when CPC put the bridge across, we realized it was a 16-foot drop, and nighttime can be pretty dark down there. There aren't a lot of car headlights or anything. And they decided to put small lights. They look like lanterns, but they're maybe 6 or 7 inches tall and spaced out a little bit, just to give people a sense that, you sort of don't want to jump over that little board right there. And I think since it's going to be 16 feet again, out at the new height of this wall, and that the railing you're installing is not impervious, it's any clever 2-year-old could figure his way right through there. I think at least a little bit of safety lighting. You don't have to light it up so that it bothers the neighbors, but I would think it would be wise to put something for safety.
Hey, JR.
Again, Carol, as chair of community preservation, you'll remember we've been pressing for many years to try to get this master plan financed and approved by community preservation. We finally succeeded with that at last spring's town meeting. It's taken us a while to get the RFP out, but what we're trying to do is have the ultimate winner of the bidding competition, help us looking at lighting across the whole, the whole harbor front. So that will be, we'll be part of this, but it's probably, in one respect it's premature, in other respects it's not. We would love to have done that 3 years ago, but we just weren't able to get the approvals, to have the vision study done first. Right. But we are very mindful that lighting is an important component, and we'll want to look at that as we go forward.
And the advantage of
no
putting
request
it during
tonight about
construction. Yeah. We went back for the bridge. We didn't think about lighting for some reason. It wasn't in the plan, and nobody asked for money. And we had to go back and do it at a kind of a inflated cost, a lot harder to get crawling under the ramp and get that lighting hooked in. So I would just, if you can figure it out now and at least get the conduit down or something, so that might save you a little money over in the long run, if you think there's going to be lighting.
Carol, one of the things you should be aware of too is that the cost of these projects is coming in significantly higher than what we had estimated.
Yeah.
So the boat ramp came in, it was supposed to come in at $1 million, and it came in at almost $2 million.
Right. Yeah.
So we have to be a little bit careful as to how we handle these things. JR, remind me, I had the impression, and I could be wrong, that we had decided to deal with the fence as an alt-in option, meaning we may not necessarily need it legally, as we have that 1.5 foot granite wall that doesn't exist today, or lip. And
We have received some preliminary indication from town council, but nothing definitive in writing, that the town would have sufficient protection under existing law to account for any incurred liability if the town were sued due to an incident along the wall.
So JR, does that mean that a fence is not necessary?
That is the tentative position of the town.
So are we requesting a fence tonight?
I think it would be prudent to request the ability to have the fence and make sure that it meets with your aesthetic requirements.
And that's where I note that I saw pressure treated timbers. And
Yes.
would our expectation correctly be that those would be that green tone? Now, I know they do silver a little bit, but pressure treated doesn't feel very historic.
Yeah.
I believe we had some other options that we had discussed in a very general sense, Dan.
Yes, and similar to the Whitney Wharf Bridge, it can be coated as well if that was a requirement.
That's right. It was stained. Yeah.
Right.
The
That's
big
silver gray.
issue of concern with that fence, for me at least, is that it's going to require more maintenance. And there's a history of fence replacement on Whitney Wharf. And I think that's a concern. But anyway, I think for legal reasons, the question I asked is, I think the wording that people use is it's an alt-in, meaning it may be in the design, but it may not necessarily have to be built.
Correct.
And if whatever we ask to have as an approved alt-in, can we have some record of agreement that whatever it may be, that it not be a green pressure treated sort of ugly?
You know, Justin, we may, I think probably if you would like to, if the board wants to approve the ability to have a fence, that would be great. However, we would need to see cut sheets and photographs of what is to be installed. So that,
Okay.
Yeah, I have similar hesitations with Justin on this. It doesn't, we're going through the effort to save granite block and incorporate that back in. And I understand the financial sensitivities with this, but I look at this and it seems like a granite pier and iron chain is from a historical perspective alone is more sensitive. And if that's the right answer, I don't know, but it seems like a little more exploration on this. I totally understand the need for this. I certainly don't want to be against a fence and own that liability. So I certainly understand the need for it. I just I hesitate to approve it as is at the moment.
mhm.
I
Well, what
think,
is it-
I think we
what
could
is-
approve the concept of a fence.
Agree.
What is the timing? Are you guys in a big hurry for approval from us, or could we buy one more month as we go over some of these details and give you time to come up with photographs or what it would look like?
I think, Carol, speaking, as the chair, I think we prefer to see approval of the concept, just so that there's no further delays, because of the issues, and this is my feeling, okay, with Conservation Commission, the incremental cost of building that wharf has probably gone up at least $500,000.
Sure.
So because of the delay of their approval. Now, it was done and approved finally, but it's just getting super, super expensive. So my preference would be to have conditional approval of the concept.
Okay.
And then, we can come back if a fence ultimately does get built, which may or may not.
Do any of the commissioners have concern about a 16-foot drop without a fence?
Yes.
Okay. So we would approve this whole plan only if we are guaranteed of some kind of safety fence. Is that fair to say?
I wasn't saying that. I was just saying, I understand the need for it, and I don't want to say, no, you can't have a fence when you think you need one. I'm all in favor of a fence if the right authorities having jurisdiction weigh in that. I don't think that's ours. I think our commentary is we want to see some other options, but if you say you want a fence, I'm on board.
Yeah.
Yep.
Good.
Carol, could I just,
Yeah.
Sorry, Bill. Go ahead, Bill.
could I just chime in, Carol?
Sure.
I want to say that this discussion regarding a fence or lack of a fence has been one that has bedeviled our own committee, our own Harbor Development Committee. There was a fairly strong view that the visual of a granite wall, as in historic times, was really the look that we really wanted. And then we ran into the question of, well, we have an engineer who has some engineering, kind of legal requirements that they need to be certain that what they're projecting is safe.
Mhm.
So a lot of discussion about does the 18-inch reveal, which of course doesn't exist today. Literally, it's flat. You could drive a baby pram right off that wall because there's nothing at all.
Yeah.
But with an 18-inch lip, do we really have enough? And I think, Marco, you would agree that the consensus within the Harbor Development Committee was that we would prefer that. And then we would try to, have the conversation if council and the selectmen, conclude that a fence really is just prudent and required, we would do that. And then we would have it as historically and architecturally consistent as we could. But, the preference was to not have a fence, frankly.
Which brings up another question. As you're driving along 3A and looking out at the water, this new height is going to eliminate some view, I would assume, of the harbor water.
There's no view now, Carol, because of the bush that's there, the hedge.
Oh, okay.
That's true.
It's right at that area where you don't see it anyway.
Right.
Okay.
Right.
The other comment you asked or question was about the harbor master shed. So I'll just give you a little background. The reason the harbor master wanted a bigger shed is because he'd like to have some safety boats stored in there in case of accident, particularly during the off season in the lakes, when he may not have his big boats at Town Pier. I requested that, we searched really where that shed should be located. The current little, I think 4x6 shed gets inundated all the time.
Yeah.
It looks horrible. It's really at the end of its useful life. After debate, we basically concluded as a committee with the harbor master that it should be near the boat ramp because that's where most of the accidents occur as people are putting their boats in and out. I personally encourage Ken to go bold, if you will, and make it look as suitable, like it's always been there, kind of image as
Or it
possible.
came from Nantucket, maybe?
Yeah, so we don't want a utilitarian shed, in my opinion, because we're spending, literally, it's currently budgeted at 5.6 million. It's probably going to come in much higher.
Wow.
And between the boat ramp and the 3A configuration, as a town and a state, we're putting in something like $25 million into this waterfront. And so this is going to be around for the next 80 years, presumably. So it ought to look suitable. The other idea that I planted in Ken's head a little bit is he ought to have a second story or at least a porch, because the view would give him now coverage over the entire harbor. And so for safety reasons.
Right, and that is to a great extent his job.
Right. Now, there's all kinds of uncertainties with all of this. First of all, I don't think we had budgeted for a shed in the plans, so there's no money for it. And you know, Ken's very good at getting grant money, but at the moment there isn't anything. Secondly, you know, the very early plans that have been submitted by Ken, frankly, I don't think you would probably approve from an aesthetic perspective.
Okay.
So this is an ongoing discussion.
Could that piece be done later? Does it have to be part of this?
JR?
It can be done later. We've already committed to providing underground utilities and things to basically a pad site.
Mhm.
And so even if we don't build the pad now or the foundation, we'd bring the utilities to where they need to be.
Mhm.
And we'd be able to complete the work on that building at any time, either during the latter portion of construction or after construction.
Mhm.
So there's nothing that would hinder us from coming back in 1 month, 3 months, or 6 months, I believe,
Mhm.
to have a better and more complete plan for you to review and approve.
Madam Chair, might you be willing to accept a motion at this point in the meeting? Yeah, because I might have a go at making one, and I don't know whether we would invite any other commentary from other people that may be in the meeting.
Well, take a
I just
shot.
had one last question. What you'd mentioned reusing a lot of the granite is, and you may not know the answer to this, and that's fine if you don't. Was the intent to try to raise it all up and use all the weathered granite and put the newer granite at the bottom, or are you going to try to mix them in? Or I was just curious if there's any
Good
thought to
question.
that yet.
Excuse me. It is likely to be mixed in throughout as we go up, because the existing blocks are fairly irregular. They're not nice cube blocks, which what is beneficial when building these, which with what we do out here is we're going to have most likely have the quarry cut to what we need.
Go for it, Justin. What have you got?
I'd like to make a motion for the town of Hingham to reconstruct 500 linear feet of existing, existing bulkhead, and construct 125 linear feet of new stone revetment as described in, and perhaps I'll ask whoever's constructing the minutes to identify the appropriate document of, and that the additional construction will be of granite block. The would move to approve what I'll say the concept of a fence, with the expectation of the details of that fence to be presented when they are appropriately ready to be presented, and to move to authorize the construction of a harbor master shed, and I presume that would also be the demolition of the existing shed and its relocation near the boat ramp. And I think
That's a pretty good start. What about the age of that existing harbor master shed? Do we know? Anybody?
No idea.
Is it a
Less
15
than
plus
20
years.
20? Did
It's
the
not
pier-
an
15 to
antique,
20.
Carol.
It has floated away many times. I think it's
Oh.
changed down now.
It can float away, but if it's 1670, we need to know what it is.
Ooh, I think there's 2 and 11 on the side of it.
so. I think it's a very general motion, but I'm if it captures the sense of the participants, I'll let that stand as a motion.
I would second that, but I would add that the design for the shed would be come back for approval.
As
And-
with the fence, yeah.
Did the, Justin, I'm sorry, did your motion address the revetment?
I think the revetment is the 125 linear feet.
Right, okay,
Yeah.
yes.
Any other commissioners have any thoughts before we go ahead with that?
Just need someone to second it.
I'll second
Carol
it.
did.
Make sure we've heard from everybody.
Hmm.
Okay, it's seconded. Justin, you're obviously in favor.
I vote aye.
Daniel? Did we lose him? Daniel Clark? Aye, okay. Who am I missing?
Mary Ann?
Mary Ann, are you voting on this? Yeah.
I,
Mhm.
And Carol's an aye also. So congratulations. This is
Thank you.
And thank you.
It was an excellent application, and it was just a great presentation. Thank
It
you.
really was. We don't see many like this. This was
Hey,
terrific. I'd like to ask
thank
one
you.
of you just something before you go and leave us. That is not an iron horse, is it?
No.
Actually, technically, the park is it's Victory Park. The
Yeah, but
name of the statue is Victory, and it is a bronze
Yeah.
statue.
By
it
the
can-
way, this is probably not the right forum for this, but I want to plant the seed. There is some,
Marco, don't do this.
Don't
all
do it.
right.
That's all right. Go ahead, Marco.
Oh, no, they can't tease us with that, right?
The Veterans Committee might be interested in relocating the bronze horse to Veterans Park to make a unified Veterans Memorial at some point. And
They'll have to get past us first.
that's going to be, I know, not, this is all conceptual.
Okay.
But I just wanted to plant that in the back of your mind. That I don't think this is, imminent.
Yeah.
It's very early days.
Okay, well noted. Thank you. Okay, guys. We're
Thank you
moving
very much and
on.
have a nice evening.
Thank you. Good to
Thank
hear-
you, everyone.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Carol. Thanks,
Bye.
Dan, JR, Marco. Bye-bye.
Bye, Bill. See you.
Okay, we're moving on to the vocals, Brian and Rebecca, for 4 High Street, that wonderful house on the corner of High and Main, located in the Tower Wilder Local Historic District. To replace
we
final
We have
window.
Alyssa Jones here.
We don't have them?
We do, Alyssa Jones. She is the architect for the project.
Okay, tell me that name again.
Alyssa,
Alyssa, I don't see her.
and her last name is Jones, and she is right here with us.
Okie dokie, and I had a question for her from her application. As soon as I pull it up. You are on Front Street?
Yes,
Hingham does not have a Front Street, so you're in Situate, I'm guessing?
yes.
Okay, good. That wasn't on the form, but I think we all know where his South Street is. Great. You want to go ahead and present?
Sure. Okay. All right. Yes. Alyssa Jones here, and I've prepared the proposed architectural plans for 4 High Street. And the owners, Brian and Rebecca Voelkel, are here attending the meeting as well. I'll share my screen and pull up the plans.
That'd be great. Thank you.
Beautiful. house.
Yes, so Brian and Rebecca, they've owned the house for maybe 3.5 years now, and they're ready to kind of make it their own and start making some updates and improvements to the property. And our goal is to expand the footprint with a new rear addition. And I'm sure you're all familiar with the house. It's a shingle style house built in 1901, and it sits high above the intersection of Main Street and High Street. And this is the side elevation view from High Street.
Yep.
And This is the view from Main Street. Let's see. This is the existing site plan. The existing home is shown, with in black ink, and the existing garage is shown in the black ink, and then the proposed addition is shown in the light blue. So as you look towards the rear of the property, at the very back of the house is the existing kitchen, which is a very tight area. And so we've proposed an addition that will expand the kitchen, the side entry, the mudroom, and the powder room. We considered trying to renovate from within, but we really didn't want to disturb, the 4 main rooms in the existing house. So we felt that expanding towards the back would be, the best solution for really preserving the existing interior. And then at the new side entry, we've proposed like a wraparound porch. And here, I'll pull up the plans here. So the addition is set back, roughly like 40 feet from the front of the house.
Mhm.
So, right now we're looking at the front elevation from High Street. At the side entry, we've proposed like a wraparound porch, which is a common feature found in shingle style homes. Like finding ways for outdoor living space on this property is very challenging due to the busy main roads and the steep land and the steep driveway location. So the porch would serve as like a much needed place for the family to enjoy the outdoors while providing them some privacy. So that's a very important feature to them, and I think they'd really use that a lot. And then on the second floor of the rear addition, we'd be adding an additional bedroom and renovating, a few areas on the second floor. So we'd gain an extra bathroom and an extra bedroom and space for laundry. And when we were designing the addition, we referenced like the large existing gambrel roof lines and the dormer facing Main Street. And then, so right now up at the top of the image is the existing front elevation, and down below is the proposed front elevation. And I'll just flip to the side here. Up at the top is the existing side elevation from the driveway, and down below is the proposed side elevation from the driveway. So you can see the roof lines and the pitches of the addition, kind of reference the existing gambrel roof lines. And another feature that we were hoping to kind of restore would be the front porch of the house. At one point, the front porch was completely enclosed with single pane sliding windows, and we'd like to take out those windows, open up the walls, and install new columns sitting on the half shingled wall, and just bring the porch back to a true porch. And then you'd also now be able to see, the front door and see an existing like bay that's on the front elevation there.
Listen, may I ask you something? Do you
Yes.
know what the original porch would have looked like? You've got another picture here with 6/6 windows, and then you've got the one with the modern windows. Do you know what it originally looked like in 1901?
Right. Yeah, that is I know the image from the inventory sheet that
Yeah.
shows the many multi-pane windows, and it's very faint, but you can also see a hint of columns
Yes.
kind of at the corners.
Mhm.
My feeling was that it would have originally been open. I feel like that is what would commonly be found in a shingle style home, that it would be an open porch.
Yeah, they were really modeled after seaside houses, weren't they, at this point?
Right. Yeah, and just that connection between the indoors and the outdoors, and so we feel like it would certainly be a big improvement from what's there now.
Yes. Yeah.
Just to open it up, and then in taking on these two, the renovation and the addition, we're also looking to replace the windows. Right now, at some point they were replaced with their vinyl like replacement windows that were installed in the original frames, and there's a lot of like heat loss through the windows. They don't open properly, and they really don't look very nice. So they are ready to take on the big expense of installing new windows, and we'd be looking at the Marvin wood windows, double hungs, the 2/1 to match what's there now, and we were hoping to use like simulated divided lights versus true divided lights.
So you'd go all to 2/2 panes throughout the house?
2/1 is what's there now. So
Do you know if they're original?
Honestly, no. Yeah. Well, I know right now these are the vinyl replacement windows, but I don't know what the original style was. If it was the 2/1 or if it was more of a 6/1.
Well, 1901, 2/1 would have had a very large lower pane of glass, which would have been pretty rare at that. That usually came in around 1920s or so, I think.
If I could just interject, we do have 3 original windows in the front parlor room. Those are the only original windows in the house, and those are 2/1.
Okay, the 3 at the first floor that are in the bay window, that's kind of protected right now by that by the enclosed porch.
Right.
So those are 3 windows that weren't replaced with vinyl. And so it sounds like the 2/1 was the original style.
Well, that and the Tuscan columns, I guess it's borderline. You know more about this than I do, but that kind of came in, I think, after this style, and the country sort of went back to New England colonial revival and started adding the columns again. But where this is 1901, I guess it's sort of borderline on both those features. It could have been, clearly these people had money. They built a beautiful big house on Main Street, but anyway, I interrupted you.
I know. Yeah, I I feel like it's the right look for the house. You know, the other option would be to shingle the posts of the porch. Sometimes you see that, but I don't know. I think the columns would be really beautiful.
Handsome, yeah.
And you know, as we move around to the other side of the house, the view from Main Street, you know, it would be, you know, you wouldn't see much of our expansion as from Main Street. We've got like a small 6-foot expansion here at the kitchen area.
Mm-hmm.
And then this gambrel is set even farther back from this space. So, you know, as you're down on Main Street looking up the hill, it would be, you know, pretty hard to catch a glimpse of the addition from
And
this
it's
side.
not as tall as the original house.
Right, and yep, not as tall as the original house. And so yeah, the biggest change on this elevation would be the new windows proposed at the kitchen area, which, you know, I know this house currently doesn't have any sets of multiple windows together, but it is, you know, a feature that you do see in shingle style homes. So I feel like it can be appropriate for this style.
Mhm.
And then as we're hoping to replace the windows, and at that point would also be a good time to replace the siding with new white cedar shingles that we'd love to use like bleaching oil, so they'd weather, but it would you know, be more of a gray color versus the browns and reds that are you see now at the house. And you know, we'd be, you know, trying to save as much of the existing trim as possible and reuse match profiles. I know it will be, you know, it will be challenging to save the existing window trim, because we would like to put in, you know, new construction windows and just properly insulate everything, and but we'll certainly match the profiles.
Mm-hmm. If Catherine were here, she'd ask about the little rectangular window in that last slide. Can you all hear her voice right now? If that's original to the house, is there any place you could use that?
Yes, the
This
window.
one?
Yeah, she would ask about that. Yep.
Oh, yes, good question. I know we it's a stained glass window, so inside that room it is, you know, very dark. So we would like to replace it with a new, you know, double hung window, but you know, maybe we can figure out a place.
Feels hard to say goodbye to a stained glass window.
I know.
Oh gosh, yeah, it's
I didn't mean to put you on the spot. I don't, you know, right now figure this out, but if you
But we
think about
will.
it, yeah, but we will eventually.
yes, yep. I'll make note of that. Try to find a place for it.
Absolutely. And I think, you know, Alyssa had mentioned that to us from the get-go. She had said right away that, you know, it's an important feature of the house. It's important to preserve. So, you know, we're very keen on, you know, doing what we can to do that. Alyssa mentioned it is a it's a beautiful window, but it's a darker room. But she was very clear that, that is a nice, beautiful window that, I'm sure that everyone would love to see reused.
And that's the south side, isn't it? So I bet it looks pretty when the sun comes in.
Mhm.
Yes.
Okay, didn't mean to interrupt you again.
Oh, no. I know, we have a
Is
long,
that the south side? Is the
No,
that,
it's,
that seems like that's the
it's west.
west side.
Oh,
So
Well,
maybe
Main
the
Street
south
turn.
side would be
Toward
would be-
Queen Anne's Corner.
right.
yeah.
yes, yeah. Yes, I know we have a kind of a long,
I
let
think that's actually the east side of the house, right?
me see.
Oh,
Yes.
actually, that's right. That's the east side.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We get beautiful sunrise.
Yeah, beautiful sunrises on that
Yeah.
side.
Yeah,
All
the
right,
Main-
there we go.
Main Street turns as we go down, yeah.
Yeah.
Let me see here. And then the rear of the addition, we really wouldn't be able to see that from Main Street or High Street. And let's see, I know, we've got kind of a long wish list of items that we'd like to tackle at this property. And the detached garage would be one of them, but we could certainly come back, a separate time for that discussion. The goal right now would be to focus on the house and the addition and the windows, and hopefully we're like heading in the right direction, and then being able to start the conversation with builders and but yeah, I'm happy to answer any questions that you have or pull up more images.
Well, why don't I interrupt here for a minute, and I have a very important question. Andrea, I'm looking at the map of the Tower Wilder Historic District on Main Street.
Yes.
It's in their packet. You guys all have that, if you're watching or not. And if I'm looking at it correctly, there's a dotted line that goes all around the historic district, separating the houses that are in the district with everything else that isn't.
Yep.
And when you get to their house, it appears as if the dotted line goes between their house and their garage.
Look at that.
Yes, I think that is accurate,
So
actually.
we have no say on the garage, is what I'm saying.
Well, that's not exactly the case.
Good.
I will have to, yeah, that's something that I'm going to have to refer back and get an opinion on in terms of jurisdiction. But, across the street, the house across the street on Main Street, the other corner of High in Maine, that particular house, the district line kind of, it includes the house, but not the rear portion, not the backyard.
You talking about Greg
No.
Smith or the other way?
It's the line is parallel with Main Street.
Yeah.
And so it cuts off actually the back portion of the property.
Of the house or the property?
No, the property. So the
Okay.
house is in, but the backyard is not.
Okay, but for 4 High Street that we're talking about,
Yes,
is the garage included?
the garage is not on the proper side of the line. However, I do need to go, and this is really uncommon. This happened to with the South Shore Baptist Church as well. Part of it was, part of it was
Really?
in and part of it was out.
Oh, yeah.
And so our ability to talk about the design, it was a little bit difficult because it was all of one design, obviously. So, fortunately we were able to work that out with
Well,
the church
who
elders.
rules on this?
Pardon me?
Who rules on this?
I am going to have to go back to the chapter 40C.
What?
And chapter 40C.
Oh, okay.
That's our enabling legislation.
Yeah.
And see what that says. So I think that kind of leaves this up in the air right now.
Well,
Can we hear about the existing garage? Is to what extent that is a historic structure?
And I don't know if it, like Alyssa had said, our intention is not to do the garage right away. Our focus is only on the house. So if we could kind of try to get the house portion approved, we could always come back for the garage.
good. That's very helpful. Thank you.
Yep. Are there any abutters who would like to speak? Nope, guess not.
I'd like to ask a question about the shutters. Are the shutters going to be part of the window replacement? Because they appear to not be wood. But it's hard for me to tell. Pardon?
Yes, yeah, we would like to install new shutters that would be wood with the proper tiebacks. The existing shutters are like a vinyl or plastic material. And
so, yeah, I mean, you can see they're not sized correctly either. So, good question, Mary Ann. So they would be installed, they would be wood shutters with proper shutter hardware.
Yeah.
And hung correctly.
Yes,
Right.
and, and the right size.
Yeah.
Right.
We always wonder how any of this got by you guys in the first place.
It probably was done, I think it was done a long time ago.
Yeah, no, we're teasing.
Yeah, because.
Well, when did this district come in, Andrea? Do you remember?
I think it was.
Is it 87?
Later than that, I believe.
So it had been there probably.
Yeah, they could have been there. I don't know. I'd have to. I think the assessor's database in their cards probably might have some information about that.
Yeah. People drive up and down Main Street and say, well, you let those guys do that, or, most of the mistakes were done before the districts were even started.
Right.
Okay, have we covered everything you need for now to get started?
I think Daniel has a question.
Yeah, I was just wondering if we were going to jump into questions or
Yeah, go ahead.
committee members. Yeah, so window 36, which is on the side elevation, second floor, I think it's off the stairway. That also seems to be a historically sensitive window. It has the lattice work on it, and I kind of see it in the photo. I don't see it in large detail, but I noticed that you're replacing that. So I'm just curious if you could touch base on that.
Sure. Yes. So this window is in the existing back stairwell. Let's see, it's got the diamond pattern to it, and it sits it sits very low on the almost to the floor. My feeling was that we were hoping to replace these windows and buying a new construction window to match that original window would be a very, very expensive window. I feel like it should be replaced just because it's in the stairwell. It's not, tempered glass. There's 3 young kids at the house, so it probably should be replaced. But I was just, thinking of if we needed to spend the money to try to match that exact window, trying to replicate it.
Yeah, I wasn't looking necessarily for that. I just noticed it was in the same location. It didn't seem to be moving. It was in a stairwell, so I was just curious if there was an opportunity to preserve it. I was curious what the trigger or the driver was for wanting to replace it.
I think, referring back to the Form B, that window and the other one we were discussing, the stained glass window, I think they're very characteristic of this style of house, the Queen Anne. And so there are details that set this style apart, I think. So
should we take a look at it?
Losing that would be, I think, unfortunate.
And there are ways of putting a 1-pane storm on the inside if you're afraid of kids going into them or something. Are they lead divided panes of glass? Do you know?
Yeah, I believe they are. Let me see if I've got the pictures.
We could always come out and take a look and.
Yeah,
Is it?
It might not be lead as you zoom in.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know. It doesn't.
I think the lattice is just on the top part. We're not at home
Portion.
yet, so we can't look at it.
Right. Yeah. I think it. I think you can see it a little bit in the image down below. But yeah, we could.
Yeah, I just bring it up because it's, it is a very historically sensitive piece. It's, I understand the safety component to it, and there's something to be balanced there, but it seems like in a stairwell might be a good opportunity to preserve something. So I just, wanted it as a, put that on the table as a potential option to think about, and kind of a conversation between the committee and the owners and you as a designer to think about.
Yeah, no, I think it's, I mean, I'm sure that we could, save it and, find a way to make sure it is safe from the inside. The location of it didn't need to change or anything based on the plans that, the stairs were staying where they are. So
if you look at, if you look at all those windows that you're showing right now, at the very top piece of wood has 2 little brackets on. That's what my house had when I first bought it. And there were wooden, probably 2-panel storms, glass that somebody got up on a ladder and hooked them on in the winter and dropped them down and latched them. And
so
they
all of these windows had awnings on them when we moved in, and we took all the awnings off.
Yeah.
I think those are brackets were left from where the awnings were suspended.
It could well be, or it could be the kind where the whole storm latched on and dropped down and got hooked on in the winter. But I'm beginning to think we should come in and have a visit with you. Can we meet you out there and take a look at the windows and some of these other features? It's kind of a beautiful big house, and I'd hate to not give it the full amount of inspection that we normally do. How do the other commissioners feel about that?
Fine.
yeah, that would be great.
Okay. Andrew, you could set up a time for us. What do you think?
Let's see, our next meeting is the 17th of February. And typically we do anytime there's a request to change windows, we do come out and take a look. So this is our usual pattern. So it would be a Saturday morning, and I can contact you, Alyssa, and work on a date with you. We don't have to come inside the house. This is purely an exterior visit. So, Mr. and Mrs. Voelkel, you don't have to worry about that.
Well, you're
Yeah,
more,
whatever works.
you're more than welcome to come in and join us. We'll have coffee and donuts.
We don't go inside. We're just outside, but
We're just outside, rain or shine or snow, whatever it is, unless it's blizzard conditions, we show up.
yeah,
Can
like
we
the
leave-
mailman.
Can we leave?
Yeah.
Can we leave the kids with you and
I was going to say that's one of my favorite parts about this application is the sweet little girl in the window, just like waving.
Wait, where is she?
I didn't see that.
Yeah, she's hidden in there. It's on page 2, looking
Oh
at that
my
side.
God, that is so funny.
Oh, how cute is that?
Funny.
good eye?
Oh, isn't that cute?
Come
Yeah.
save me. Well, it would give us a chance to see the height of the addition and, maybe the height of the garage at that point, if we're going forward with that.
Just because I don't want to, should we? I have a couple more thoughts and questions and things that I think the owners and the designers might want to hear. That way they can have more time to think about it. Because my guess is they probably want to. If they're like I was, they want to try to get this going as soon as possible. So,
Sure.
Mhm.
and I'm going to pose this question more to the other committee members, being one of the newer members, is the dormer on the proposed side elevation on Plan 2-1 caught my eye, and not typical. So I'm just curious how that has been traditionally handled, and I get it. It's our committee to make a decision, but I'm just curious of past precedents.
We fight them.
Ah,
We go a little crazy on them, but
sure.
Yeah.
So this is the dormer proposed up in the attic.
yep.
Sure. I know I was yes, it is a little, I'm showing like a shed roof. This would be, in the existing stairwell that goes up to the attic. It has very low ceiling height in the stairwell. So, we were hoping that by cutting in a small dormer, we would bring the stairs up to, more proper code with height. So
Well, I think Dan is saying that if there were a rethink on the styling of that, it might be welcome.
Yeah, the shape of the roof, the kind of roof it has. You have other roofs right there. Look at the top picture there, the one on the right, very right, lower, like a little peaked roof.
Yeah,
Maybe-
that's what I was going with that comment. Right now, I understand the need. Now I understand the need better, and it just my eye is drawn to that dormer as opposed to the roof lines that you have, and I just wonder if there's a way to dress that differently.
But it does feel a little discontinuous style-wise.
Old Cape Cod.
Sure. Yeah, I know. I was kind of thinking it almost related to, the way that gambrel roof lines, the way that they, the difference between a full height wall versus when the roof, drops down. It's almost, it kind of reminds me of like a shed dormer. So I was thinking it would be, it would disappear more, blend more in with the roof. But, if we looked at something more of like a gable, we could certainly, consider that.
Like the roof on the bay on the first floor, something more like that.
Or
No.
Yeah.
Any other thoughts? Dan, did you want to ask anything else?
Hard to tell just from the photos and the angles, but I'm gonna take a guess at that the chimney's original and that's not a new chimney.
Right, yeah, that would be the original chimney.
Okay. You guys, okay. I just couldn't tell on the plans if that was, I can't, oh, there it is there. Okay, I just wasn't sure.
Yes, yeah, I believe.
Okay.
Yes, yeah, no, it's pretty substantial, you know.
Yeah, it shows in the drawing very substantial, but then when I was looking through the photos, I didn't see it. So that's just
right. Yep.
Well, 1901 would have had central heating probably at this point, wouldn't it? Radiators?
I think so, yeah.
Yeah.
So I think, first of all, I'd like to say, Alyssa, you put together a wonderful package here.
Sure did.
And it's very complete. And so we do appreciate that very much.
Thank you.
Very nice.
And it does make it a lot easier for us to do our job. So.
Yeah.
The only comment I had was
Tracy has joined us. Yay! Tracy's in the house.
I was only like 10 minutes late. Come on.
Oh, I didn't even see you.
I wanted to point out to the commission that the windows in the new kitchen, which are viewable from High Street, the proposal is to change it from this one small window that you see on the right there, on the left there, sorry, to 3 windows over the sink. Again, like Dan's been saying, you know, understanding the functionality of that, but that is, to me, that's more direct in the public realm than that dormer and the stair on the other side. And then I just had a question on the little patio on the back there. How is that wall? It's under 30 inches or so. You're building that up. I see it in the plan, but it's not as clear on the elevation here.
Right. Yes, we, you know, it would be like elevated above the grade, you know, maybe like 12 or 18 inches, just so we could, you know, step down, take one step down from the back addition. And then, you know, the grade is starting to pitch down towards Main Street there. So, you know, my thought was that we would build the patio and then probably wrap it with plantings, and it wouldn't, it's not that it would be so high that we would need, you know, a railing, but you'd see, you know, we'd see a little bit of the stone, and but I think it would be, you know, just a blend in, you know, very.
Does the shape and size of that show up anywhere on the drawings? I don't.
Yeah, on the first floor plan, it shows a eating table and a couple chairs in plan. In the back there, and then 2 or 3 steps down. So that's why I didn't, you know, from here, I couldn't tell if that was a wall, or I think we're just building up to a stone patio with 2 or 3 steps down. So I was afraid from plan it was like a, you know, a taller wall, but I think it almost aligns with the water table on the building.
Right. Yes. Yeah. Thought was to keep it, you know, keep it easy to access. So, you know, maybe one step down from the living area, but not, you know, not build up a high wall. And yeah, I just kind of pictured it tying into the like exposed ledge and rock that's back there right now.
And do you know about how old the existing roof is?
It was done in 2012.
2012. Okay. Because you're trying to tie in some, the plans say existing asphalt to remain, but there are some roof plans you're going to try to merge shingles, correct?
Right.
Or are they completely different planes and you won't?
Let me, the
Like, are you extending the
rear addition would be, it really would be in completely separate planes, so we wouldn't have to blend shingles there.
Okay.
It would be, I think the one tricky spot would be that attic dormer if we.
But that's on the kind of non-public side.
Right,
Yeah.
right.
Okay. Yeah, I think there's a lot of great improvements here. I think opening that front patio will be really nice. I think lightening this up with the lighter shingle will be really nice. Getting rid of vinyl anytime is great. So I think it's just a couple questions about a few windows from my perspective, and maybe there's a way to incorporate that stained glass in the laundry room or in the new garage or something like that, and keep it on the property.
Sure.
And Tracy, were you listening when we were talking about the garage maybe not being within the?
Yeah.
We'll solve that too, but in the meantime, Andrea will set us up for a house visit, and
I will.
great.
Thank you, everyone. We appreciate
Nice
it.
job. Thank you so much.
Yeah.
Thank you. It's a pleasure.
Okay, you want to take over, Tracy? Mr. Tracy? Where is he?
No, go ahead. Keep going. I'm probably gonna have to. I'm not home, if you can tell. So I only
may have to
until about
bounce.
8:30.
You look a lot better than the last time we saw you.
He was sick.
Oh yeah, I was sick.
You look ghostly. Okay.
All right. Thank you very much.
Thank you. The next is 149 Levitt Street. John and Ellen, is it Alon?
No, it's. Do we have it?
It's Allison. It was spelled wrong.
Oh, trying to pronounce it like it's French.
Oh, no. Yes, it was my typo. I apologize.
Okay, Allison, good American name. 149 Levitt. So this is located in the Hingham Center Local Historic District. And they want to construct two additions to the original building: family room, master suite, mudroom, and garage. Who's going to take us through this one?
That's Jim Wolfer.
Hi, Jim.
I'm going to actually kick it off here first.
Okay.
And then Jim will also be available for questions. But first I'll start it out and just introduce ourselves. And thank you for giving us the chance to talk to you this evening. I know it's already been a little bit of a long night, so hopefully we'll speed this on up. And I want to also thank you guys all for serving on this committee. I know how difficult it can be to be part of town committees, and you answered the call. So
thank you.
My name's John Hussey. I'm here with my wife, Allison Malloy Hussey. And we're also joined tonight by our builder and good friend, Jim Wolfer from Shoreline Builders. Allison and I have lived in Hingham for 21 years now. We raised 3 children in a garrison colonial up by PRS. And now that all 3 are in college, we're kind of thinking about what the next steps were going to be for us. So when I received a call from Allison telling me that Miss Lynn's house is on the market, I knew that we had found our next home. You see, for Hinghamites of a certain age, 149 Levitt Street will always be Lynn Rosado's home and garden.
Oh, yes.
Where she had she conducted those wonderful children's art classes for many years. Our daughter, Casey, was fortunate to begin her lifelong love of art by learning how to draw out there in the gardens where Miss Lynn would just tell the young people, draw what you see, bugs, flowers, trees, whatever. It was a real magical place for her and for so many people.
Had a beautiful wraparound porch and and lovely rainbow steps going up to the second floor. So it was a house we immediately fell in love with. Now, having lived here for 6 months, I guess, or so now, we've learned both the joys and some of its deficiencies of a 150-year-old house. The porch and views are certainly quickly becoming one of my happy places. It loves sitting out there. But, the house obviously does need a little bit of work for ourselves and our family. We want to show respect to the history of the house. We want to, this home has been in the Rosado family for over 100 years. And we believe our plans do that. The front facade of the house is going to remain untouched. We want to keep the porch intact. We really only plan on building a family room that's going to kind of direct more of the energy towards the garden and have a master suite above it. And we'll also have a garage that's going to be tucked away behind the house. We know Jim and Shoreline have the experience and the passion to take on this project, and we'll make the town proud of what we're creating. We love Hingham. Allison serves currently on the Board of Trustees at the library. I have been a past warden of St. John the Episcopal Church, St. John the Evangelist Episcopal Church, similar to Mr. Tom Piles, Carol's husband. And, we love being here. So we think we have the right plan to help bring 149 Levitt back to its former glory, to honor Rick and Lynn and what they created here. And we really hope that someday our grandchildren can learn their nature and love of nature and art by sitting out in those gardens someday. So we're excited for doing this. I think you guys have the plans that for everything, but thanks again for giving us time, and happy to answer any questions you have.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
So who's going to walk us through this?
Jim, you want to
take over?
Yeah, sure. But you guys, we don't have any fancy graphics to put up at this point in time. Do you hear me all right?
Yes.
Okay.
Let me ask Miss Tracy.
Yeah.
Would it be possible to put these plans up, share your screen?
Said hi to you. John.
Let's see, where's Miss Tracy?
I think we lost Miss Tracy because it all of a sudden assigned Alyssa Jones as the host.
Oh. Miss Tracy. Let me see where she is. Okay, sorry about that.
She's having her dinner.
No, Miss Tracy. If you'll just excuse me just for a minute, let me see if I can, I'll send her a message.
What'll be interesting is when Alyssa Jones leaves, finally, who gets to be the host? Randomly assign somebody.
Well, I'll tell you.
We voted for you, Dan.
What was that? I'm losing you.
Oh, she lost Wi-Fi trying to get back in. So that was.
I could probably share them on my screen if I could get the ability to share the screen.
Yes. Let me see.
All right, now you're the host, Andrew.
She'll be back shortly.
See, Zoom knew who the real boss was and assigned it to Andrea.
I know. Let's see. Hate when this happens, sorry. All right, that's all right. That little. Well, let's do this. Jim, if you want to we've all got the plans in front of our faces here. And when we find, Miss Tracy again, then she will, I'll ask her to put this all up on her screen, but nevertheless, you want to take us through, Jim?
Yeah, so we're proposing two additions to the original structure. One is off the rear of the house, which is a mudroom and a two-car garage with some space above it. The other is a family room addition that would be off the right side of the house that would have a master suite above that as well. Largely trying to keep the intact, touch paint. The roofing would be, I think it's lifetime. We're looking at doing some kind of an asphalt architectural shingle in one of the gray tones that would hold the existing roofs and the new roofs together. So I mean, those are the structures that we're looking at. Windows in the existing house remain untouched. Siding, front porch, trim work, everything is in good shape. So we don't really plan on touching that. The there's a corner bricks, eaves is to kind of match all of that as well. New windows, we're proposing to do Marvin wood windows, matching the clapboard siding on all of the new structures. And the garage doors that would be facing the street, we're proposing to do some custom wood doors that would be appropriate for the house.
We're talking 1870s here for people at home.
Miss Tracy is back.
Yay.
Yay. Would it be possible to see if you could put up the plans for 149 Levitt Street?
Sure, one moment.
Oh, thank you.
Jim, can I ask Jim a question?
Yes, you can.
What is your estimation of the age of the windows? 1870 is a long time. Would any be original at all, or are they all replacement?
It's hard to tell. They look original to me. They're two style wood windows. I don't know if they're 100% original, but they certainly have been in that house for a long, long time. So,
thank you, Tracy.
Yeah.
Tracy's got the plans up. Jim, what would you like her to, what page would you like her to get to?
Well, I mean, we've kind of walked through the layout and the additions. I mean,
okay.
If you want to kind of walk through a page by page, we can kind of take a look at things.
Sure.
So I mean, the page that we're looking at is the site plan. The house did recently have a new septic system that was put in to convey the house to the new owners. And you can see where the original house is. It's hard, I can't point. Kind of original house is mainly the box that is within the wraparound. If you go to page A1, which would be the next page, that's showing the existing floor plan of the existing house. So the living room, what's designated as the living room, the den, the dining room, obviously front hallway, that is what is the original structure of the house. house was a later addition. I don't know how to age that house. The addition, but the original house is pretty much the living room, dining room, and the den. That little box there with the wraparound porch. So our proposal is to kind of remove the bedroom, replacing it with new structure on the same footprint, but and then obviously the bathroom that's on the north side of the page was a later addition as well.
There's a chimney in there somewhere?
There is a little teeny chimney. I don't believe it's original to the house. I think it's something that accommodates the heating system that was put in, you know, much later, somewhere probably in the 30s or the 40s.
So any old fireplace gone?
Yeah, there's no fireplaces remaining. This chimney was installed to the basement, probably to, you know, take some type that would break that through. So yeah, it seems like the original chimneys are gone.
Jim, is it your feeling it had that wraparound porch right from the beginning? Can you tell looking at it whether it's old enough to be part of the, or was it a little cape to begin with?
I know it has been there for a long, it definitely it looks like it's been there for a long time.
Okay.
I did try to research, try to pull up some historical photos. I was not able to really get too many photos of this house that were, you know, in anywhere where I could find. I don't know if the Historical Society has any pictures.
Jim, if I can suggest, I think that the A7 really is very helpful because it shows what you plan to remove, and I think it's helpful. You've done a good job with that.
Yeah. Yeah.
So these on the existing elevations.
A7 is basically, yeah, it's that rear addition. If you look on the top left of the page, that rear addition is that small bedroom and the kitchen addition, and then the bathroom that's on the other side of the house. And if you look at the elevations for the proposed work, would be
that would be
as we're
that's A12, I think. And A11 first, I'm sorry, and A12.
Yeah, A11. So A11 kind of corresponds to that A7 where we were on the top right of A7 where we're looking at a later addition. And in A11 on the bottom section of that page where we're kind of, you know, building in place of where that addition came off, we have a similar structure to where that bedroom is now. Then we move into the mudroom, and then we move into the two-car garage with the space above it. And if you look on the A12, or well, the top of A11 is going to kind of show the family room and the master suite addition that's off to the right of the house. And that's also shown on the top of A12. And the bottom of A12 is that family room and master suite addition looking from the backyard.
What's your thought on that one sort of large open window, undivided window in the connector piece, I guess that is?
So repeat that.
second picture down, what we're looking at right now. Right almost in the middle. Looks like one big open plate glass window. Would that not be seen from the street?
About the double hung window?
There's a large open space next to the double hung.
Oh, in the rear on page A12.
That one.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Page
that's
12.
in the backyard,
Oh, this is the back
not
view.
visible from the street. That-
It says right side elevation. I'm turned around, I guess.
Yeah, this is the back, Carol.
Oh,
Yeah, and the left of that photo, far left is the porch, which
Yeah.
is what's facing Levitt.
street, yeah.
And then it pushes back from there. So that window is for facing out towards the big gardens.
I see.
Andrea, is the intent that we're gonna do a site visit? I'm just finding it hard not being familiar with this house.
Yeah, I'm having trouble following it.
Having perspective on exactly what is visible, isn't visible from the street, how it lays out. Are we gonna do a site visit with story poles?
Whatever the commission wants, I'll arrange it.
I think that makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, it took me quite a while to get my bearings and understand it. I think they are trying to hide a lot on this right side elevation, like the front of the garage. That bonus space above the garage has no windows on the public side, but then they're putting windows on the back side and on this right side. So I can see I still think the garage is pretty big. And I think that, I tried to look on Google Earth Street View and see, there's a ton of trees and everything. I'm not familiar with the house either, unfortunately. Be interesting to see how much of that garage from the front would be viewable, would be visible. I do think you're trying to be cognizant of, putting things on the non-public side, but it's still a pretty big addition out the back with the connector in the garage. So I think it would be helpful for a visit.
Justin, what do you think?
I think it's a site visit would be helpful, but I did think that the garage space looked like a lot of extra volume.
Well, why don't we ask for some story poles, just the height of the new addition and sort of some stakes in the ground for the dimensions?
Would you be able to, Jim, would you be able to stake that out for us so that we can really see where just stake out the additions? And then I think, Madam Chair, you're asking for a story pole for the
mass of the addition, the biggest part of the addition.
Okay.
If anybody else wants to
Yeah,
see.
we can do.
Andrea, I think some of this addition is going to be seen from Pope's Lane. Is that part of the historic district, or?
No, it's not.
Okay.
It doesn't need to be.
But
Any
I
public
think it's a
right-of-way.
public way.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's not a private way. So we're concerned with any view from the public way.
Okay, any other questions on this one?
Did we lose Mary Ann?
No, she's here.
Okay. Just wondered if you had anything to add, Mary Ann.
I only had one question, and that was, I didn't see demolition of the existing garage. It looked like there was a detached garage on the existing plan, And then the garage shows up as attached to the mudroom, which is attached to the house. And I was wondering what the process was for that garage, to where that garage was going to go, the existing, or how it was going to go.
Yeah, the existing,
Go ahead, Jim.
yeah, I'm just saying, the existing.
We're having trouble hearing you, Jim.
It's not
Maybe
affected by
Mr.
the
Hussey, you can.
The existing, it's a bold statement to call it the existing structure of the garage. We call it a barn. It is a barn, and I don't think a car could fit in it, and we are going to keep it because we think it's really cool. But it is not fit for, it's literally for horses. You can see the horse, the fact that horses were in there and were stabled in there at some point. So the state will keep it. We're going to keep it there, but we're going to build the garage for the cars.
Thanks. Appreciate that.
Okay, so let's see. Jim, I'll arrange for the site visit with you. Is that?
yeah, that'd be fine.
Okay, all right. It'll be, I think if you heard the previous, it'll be a Saturday morning, but again, we don't have to get inside the house. We're more interested in looking at, if you can stake out the footprint of the proposed additions, that would be great. And and the story pole for the ridge height.
Okay, we can do that.
Thank you.
Great. It's a very exciting project.
It is. Thank you for your time.
All right. Thank you.
Look forward to seeing you guys.
Hey, take care.
So, Madam Chair, we 3 Blaisdell Road is asked to be continued. So we're, I think, to our last hearing.
Good. So we're now talking to about 1035 Main Street, located in the Liberty Plain Local Historic District, to construct a detached garage. This is Paul Antonic.
Good evening. How are you?
Hi. Is it Mr. and Mrs. or?
Yes.
Sure is. So I'm here with Lizzie, my wife, and yeah, we've been in 1035 about 3 years now. And I assume I should just go right into it.
Please do.
Okay, so as we know, 1035 Main Street is a very historic house built in the early 1700s, which we love. And we love the nature of the house. We love the look of the house. The only issue for us is really the garage situation. There is 0 spot to park indoors. Our existing garage, actually, why don't I share my screen here? Am I allowed to do
Yes,
that?
absolutely. Yeah, Tracy will, Miss Tracy will set you up.
Do you know the date of this house, Andrew? You got it?
1738.
1738. Wow.
You should be able to go ahead and share.
Share.
Thank you, Tracy.
Let's see. Share. Just give me one. I have a second screen. Let me actually disconnect it because I think it's screwing it up. For some reason, it's not letting me share.
Miss Tracy, can you do that? Miss Tracy.
Oh,
can
wait,
do
hold on.
anything.
I think I had to.
Yeah, everything on my end looks like it's all set.
Here we
Andrew,
go.
what
I got it. I had to fix my computer. So hold on one sec. And so can you guys see that?
Not yet.
Not yet.
Oh, there we go, starting.
Yay, there we go.
Great. So what do you see? Do you see the site plan?
No.
Which side of your house?
Okay,
Brick
got it.
walkway, some planting.
Got it. Okay, so this is our current house. The home has mostly original windows. On the front of the home, actually almost all 4 sides have original doors and windows, original chimneys. The right part of the home there, where that small chimney was an addition done at a later date. I actually don't know when it was, but the door is historically correct. We actually repainted it last year, the black green color.
That's on the list of approved colors.
That's on the list of approved colors. It's a mix of clappan, shingle, wood roof, which we actually intend to replace this year with red cedar. At some point, we just have to get the money to pay for it. It's so damn expensive right now. So yeah, that's the current home. So now if I show you the photo here, different photo. Which one do you see now? Still the same photo?
That's the same one.
Okay, now you can see to the right where the car is parked, correct?
Yes.
So that area to the right is currently just a gravel parking spot that we would like to build a garage. The intention of the garage, the right half of the garage would be 2 bays for some classic cars that I have since inherited because of my dad's passing. And I'm actually keeping the cars for my 3 siblings and us. And so that's actually the main motivation. And then there's a 3rd bay to the left for Lizzie's car, and therefore I will still continue to park outside. So this area to the right. So now if I were to, how do I switch? Bear with me. So now if you look at the site plan, you can see the existing dwelling in the front, our driveway, and then the proposed garage within the setbacks allowed by the building commissioner in the town. The existing garage in the back is really a true timber frame barn. The floor is framed out of wood and definitely not sufficient to support a vehicle. So this is used mainly for storage for a lot of kids' toys and bikes. It's a beautiful historic barn. We are actually planning on, working on that quite a bit to replace some rotten trim and try to keep it as as historically correct as possible in its exact condition. Then the proposed garage over on the, I guess, I don't know what direction, but the top of the area, we would basically come in and instead of, we actually replaced the driveway a year ago. We wouldn't add asphalt in front of it. We would probably do some sort of curbing or Belgian block stone apron in front of it, which would then blend in with the Belgian block curbing on the driveway. And then between the garage and the road is a fair amount of trees. We actually plan on keeping a fair amount of them, maybe thinning it out a little bit, but for the most part, keeping it. And all of the trees behind the garage on Gary's property there, we were adjacent to Gary Tender Dick. We would leave that shrubbery there as well. So really, we're only disturbing the area of the gravel and grass that's currently there, the open space. So now, let me. Any questions so far?
You're doing great.
Okay. So then if I were to show you the plans. How come I can't share it now? It's up with this. Zoom share. And share. There we go. So now we have the plans drawn by Jonathan Aprea, who I know you guys have worked with quite a bit in the past. John works with us with our business of building homes, and I work really closely with them. So He also actually coincidentally rented this house for many years, so he was very familiar with it.
Oh.
But so I really leaned on John and I said, listen, I don't want to overpower the house. I don't want to design anything that's going to be too far left of what we think you guys would, want to see. And so we really tried to make sure that it was below the overall height of the existing house, so we didn't dwarf it. We used similar materials with the clap. We plan on doing a wood roof at a minimum on the front of the garage, and then matching the back with a wood colored asphalt. If we can afford it, we would like to do asphalt, not asphalt, wood on the entire thing. But as you know, the price of cedar shingles is insane. So after we do the main house fully in wood, we'll make the call, and if we can do the back of the garage as well. You'll notice very similar details to the roof design. Then as we work through it, so this is the top of this is what you would see from the rear of the home. And then you have the side that faces Gary's house, which would be the, I guess, the north. So the rear of the garage. On the front, the right half of this is cathedral. There's no second floor on the right half of this. The left half has a simple room upstairs, wide open with just a powder room. The intention is for it to be just a gym or open play space. We have considered, right now, the clap is what we're considering for the front. The door, this is not representative of what we were thinking. I was actually going to try to source a door at Architectural Salvage up in New Hampshire. That would be somewhat period correct. But we have to do some research and look for that. We'd like to try to match the front door of the home if we can. But again, it kind of involves, a bunch of research to see what we can find. The colors of the garage doors and the front door will be the black green, which is on the approved list. The lights, which you don't see here, would be one of the 4 lantern style lights that are also on the approved list. Again, we haven't made that final decision yet. And then you can see this is the second floor, but I'll go to the first. So let's see here, sorry. No, there is not a shower. He had a version of a shower, which would not be included. We are not doing a shower. It would just be a closet. And then the first floor, we would do 2-car on the right, and then Lizzie's Bay on the left with a simple center staircase. I have done a rendering. Hold on one sec. Stop share. Give me 1 second here. That's not it. Sorry, bear with me. Technology challenge here.
You're doing great.
So this is a rendering that I did from the front. Now you'll notice the third bay is tucked back, and that was purposely done so that it's kind of hidden from the street and you only see the front 2. This is not, this is an artist rendering, right? This, for full disclosure, this guy sits in Vietnam. He does all of our renderings. Super nice guy. His name is Fong. He kind of takes his own artistic take on landscaping. So I would not pay attention to the landscaping much. But this area here, if you can see my cursor, this area is where the current shrubbery against the road is that we plan on leaving. So really, you would probably realistically only see this section here. Now, obviously, if it was taken down, you would see the rest of it, which is why we intend on keeping it as historically correct as we can on all sides. Then, street view, front view. Share. How do you just switch the window list? New share, there it is. So then this is the front. It doesn't look like wood shingles, but our intention again is to do wood shingles. The windows we're going to use were just Brosco divided light wood windows. Simple wood window. We were trying to save money on the Marvin Ultimates. And since it's just a garage, we were going to go with the Broscos. And then what else? I don't know. I think, am I missing anything, Liz?
I don't think so.
I think that's it, really. So I guess I'll open it up for questions and comments.
It's very nice, Paul. Let me start by saying we normally like barns and garages to be back farther off of the street than the house. And this looks like it's kind of lined up about the same distance from the sidewalk as your house. I can't find a picture that really shows me.
Back from the,
Here,
a little bit more.
I'll
but-
pull that back up here. The one thing we were trying to avoid was the septic. Let's see here. Share site plan. So it's this the house currently sits about 24/7 off the street, and this is 36.
Okay.
We could move it back a little more if we wanted. I was just trying to avoid this septic over in here, which is why I kept it where it was. I kind of actually, the other reason was I just kind of used the area that is already parking as my guideline, but
I see.
I don't know. We could definitely move it back a little bit if we had to.
How did the other commissioners feel? We normally say put it behind the house, but you can't right here, but Justin?
It does not seem distracting to me. I know what you mean by how to locate the garage, but this seems to work.
You don't think it'll look like a second house sitting up close?
Yeah, I guess it does a little bit. But to my eye, it felt appropriate.
It's nice that the doors face sideways instead of Main Street.
Yes, I think that makes a big difference.
Big plus.
Yeah.
There was also a very, we were very intentional in showing the gambrel from the side.
Right.
As
That's
well.
very
So
nice.
we were trying to like hide the doors around the side and show the gambrel on the side. That was purposeful. The other reason that I don't have it more to the left is you'll see this shrubbery here that kind of juts out. There's a really nice tree here, and I'm sure Gary's on the call, and I'm sure he could name the type of tree it is because he's told me before and I can't remember. And I'm trying to avoid disrupting this tree that's over in here, which is the other reason.
Okay. Commissioners, what are your thoughts? They've all fallen asleep, I'm sorry.
Yeah, I think it.
No, I was wondering if there were any butters or.
I'll speak as in butter. When I saw the plans, I was shocked. And I think PJ said it quite well. He didn't want to overpower the streetscape, which is kind of the purpose of a historic district, is to not overpower a streetscape and to preserve what I call the demeanor of the street. If street doesn't have personality, but I think Main Street has a lot of personality, and I would hate to see a building overshadow the personality of the antique historic houses. And, you know, PJ and Lizzie's house is certainly older than my house, which is right across the street, but nevertheless, none of us are young. And so I would just hate to see it overpower it. I think the fact of the wooded area is only green and will hide the building when things bloom in New England. But when October comes along, probably until March or April, you know, you can certainly see the woods are not green in the winter. And so that is not a screen. I did the square footage on the application. It says that the footprint of the garage is 1,100 and it said that the house is 2,049 square feet. The footprint is 1,100. Footprint times 2, because it has 2 stories, means that it's 2,200 square feet, which is greater than the size of the building. I did some research at Old House Online, and the conventional wisdom is to put a garage to the rear of the structure and to make it subordinate to the existing structure. And certainly in this case, because of 1738, you really do want to respect the older building. I would like to see the house moved back farther. There's a couple of sheds, there's the barn. And not to correct you, PJ, but my barn was restored 1995, 2000. And we replaced, my sister replaced the floor so that it would support vehicles should we choose to put vehicles in the barn. So an antique barn, and my barn predates the house. So you could put a floor in the barn that would support vehicles. But I understand why you have, additional vehicles. But I think it really destroys the purpose of a historic district and the lovely, almost bucolic streetscape that's down in South Hingham.
I'd like to comment on a couple things there. Number one, there is a basement in our barn, which makes it difficult to frame something to support a car. I've thought about doing that, but the amount of work and engineering, just for me, I'd have to rip the place apart so much. It just didn't seem like it was worth it. So that's why I haven't done that. Number two, I'm happy to move it off the street more if I have to. That's not a big deal. The rest of the yard is really tough because you've got that septic system in there and there's, a lot going on. So I think if we put it in the back, it's like you're plopping a garage in the middle of a backyard, which I just think would completely ruin the nice open grass backyard that we currently have. It also sprawls down into the woods where we have a nice garden. I just don't think that would make sense. And then lastly, it is 1,100 on the first floor. Second floor is only about a third because the right 2/3 is cathedral. So I'd have to calculate the actual square footage, but it would be significantly less than what you were just referring
What
to.
I assumed, okay.
With that said, we do have plans to put an addition on the house down the road. I mean, we plan on being here a very long time. We love the town. My business is in the town. I'm not going anywhere. And our kids are only getting bigger and we're sharing a bathroom. So that's clearly not going to work forever. So our plan, if you can still see my cursor,
yeah,
my plan, and I've talked to Aprea about this. What's going on here? He and I have, this area here is where we plan on doing an addition and bringing it to the board probably maybe this summer. We don't plan on building this for a couple of years for financial reasons, but the plan is to blow the back of the house out where the bulkhead is and create an addition on this back side, which would massively increase the footprint of the home. What you would see would be minimal. It would only be in this area here. But our plan is to, move the kitchen and create living upstairs. And again, I grew up at Cape Cod. I'm a big fan of historic homes. What's that?
But that's not the proposal tonight.
That's not the proposal. But my point is, like, the square footage is going to increase and the size of the home is going to increase over time. And our plan is to do it as historically correct as we can, keeping the wood roof and the wood windows. And so that will be coming down the road. So that if we're going to do a square footage analysis, comparing the garage to that, I think, we'll probably be adding about 2,000 square feet to this home within 3 years.
But that's secondary to what I think, my chagrin, for lack of a better word, was the overpowering of the streetscape you know, a garage to be so prominent in a historic district. You see it, of course, in developments a lot, but in a historic district, the garage usually, and the literature supports this, is usually to the rear of the house and is secondary to the structure of the house. And I think square footage aside, you know, it just has to maintain a secondary. And, you know, what you've designed in my mind, just, and, you know, it's as an abutter across the street, it's there, you know, common parlance, it's in your face, my face. So I, you know, at best to move it back and to decrease its size, no matter what you're going to do in the future, would be my suggestion as a neighbor and as somebody who's really fond of living in a historic district. I'm a traditionalist, I'm old fashioned, and I love historic districts and old houses. So that's my 2 cents.
Madam
Chair, could I make some comments?
Gary, before you begin,
Yeah.
I also
Yeah,
want to
sure.
point out that another abutter, Diane Sheehan, has had her hand up for quite a while. So
okay.
sorry about that.
Good evening. Thank you for acknowledging me. Diane DiNapoli, 16 Gardner Street. I am an abutter. First, PJ, let me extend my condolences. I hadn't realized your father had passed. I'm sorry to hear that.
Thank you.
Thank you for the presentation. The rendering was very helpful. I like the landscaping, but I understand that's not really what we're looking at. It was helpful to see, and I do, when I looked at the plan, I was kind of struck by the size. It makes sense that you are thinking of extending or enlarging the house, but I think that would be mainly from the backside. You said we probably wouldn't see much of that work. So I definitely feel that moving the structure back a bit, and I know you're concerned about the trees and I appreciate that, but I think it would feel more in line with the Kennedys, their garage, the Orwigs across the street have the garage moved back. The scale seems very large on the footprint. I think I did the calculation, it was like 250 square feet in that open room you have as a gym. And I'm very glad you're deciding not to do the shower because I was concerned and it almost felt like a detached ADU with 3-car garage. So that to me makes a lot of sense that you're not moving forward with that. But again, you know, I understand wanting to have cars inside. I just feel like it is fairly large to what appears in the front. And if it was moved back, it may give you some more opportunity to save some of the shrubbing or be creative. You know, you've done a great job with the house so far. I love seeing the work you do. So I don't doubt that you could make this work, make it feel historic, like what you've done with the rest of the home. And I applaud your work. You're out there all hours of the day and night working. You're kind of like I would be, I'm sure, if I had the tools. But I would just ask, whenever you are working, if you could keep it within the residential hours, it would be great. Because some of us still like to try to sleep a little past like 7 or 8. So that would be wonderful.
I mean, for full disclosure, I don't work past 7 o'clock at night.
Okay, another discussion for another day.
Yes.
Gary Tundorf Dick, what would you like to say?
Could I? Thank you. I'm the abutter to the north of the property, and I just wanted to make some comments, just going back and looking at the context of the historic district, if I could for a minute. In 1988, there was a Liberty Plains Study Committee that studied this historic district, and one of what we tried to do was identify the characteristics that make this district special. And you know, we have several houses in this district that are first period 1600s, and we have 7 or 8 that are basically in the agrarian period in the 18th century. This is one of the houses, and the defining characteristics of the district are that these were planting lots. And what happened was the earlier settlers basically built a house, and it was essentially centered on the lot. And the other outbuildings would then be organized in line, centered on the house, but going back into the property. So the components that we thought were important in the district and town meeting basically accepted these as the premise of one of the premises as to why they voted it in, is that we wanted to maintain that character. And the character is made up of the architectural character of the houses, but also the setting of the houses and the streetscape, and then ultimately the streetscape. So the whole is greater than the sum of the parts. So one of the things that I was struck by when we looked at a number of garages that have been put in the district is that typically the rhythm of the district, the streetscape, is essentially a front yard area. Then there would be the house that's centered, and then a front yard area, and then another house. And that repeats itself east and west as you go down Main Street. And so we don't really typically have garages in the front yard per se, with a face front in the streetscape on the street. And so one of the things that this discussion's come up on a number of other houses in the district. And one of the houses next door is the Kennedy's house at 1045 Main Street. And at that house, basically, the discussion moved the 1.5-story garage back a bit from the street so that it's kind of in line with the back of the house. And what that does is it allows the front of the house, it's another cape, like this house is a cape. It allows the house to basically have its prominence on the lot. What I would suggest is that I'd be more comfortable if you were to entertain moving it back a bit on the lot. Typically the setting along that area, my barn's in the back of my lot. It's probably 100 feet back from Main Street. I don't know what the right dimension would be. I know you have a septic system there. I appreciate the fact that you want to maintain the landscape privacy because we both value that. But I would be much happier if the garage moved back a bit. Also, given it's really a 2-story building, not a 1-story garage. So I think from a massing perspective, it's quite close to the lot line. And if you moved it behind, past the septic a bit, closer to kind of in line where my barn is, I don't know if that would work, but it's flat. It's a nice area of the yard. It would allow you the functionality that you currently have, which is to access it through, over the driveway and all. And I think it might set up it would be part of that nice rhythm of the street. You'd have house, yard, and then the outbuildings, accessory buildings, and set back. Now, it doesn't have to be set back way back, because I realize you've got grades and slopes and things like that you want to stay away from. So that would be my request relative to those concerns. I think it would be very positive too in terms of the character, maintaining this character of the streetscape. I think it would add a lot of value to this property as you move forward too, in terms of doing other additions that you're thinking about. So just my comments for consideration by the commission.
Thank you, Gary. Thank you.
Welcome.
Appreciate that. I'd like to hear the commissioners.
I was real quick. I was just crunching some numbers on this side, and thank you, Gary, for your comments. I agree that back by your barn would be a suitable location. The biggest issue, because we install septics as part of my business, this septic is not an H20 system, so you can't drive over it. The tank is, obviously it's in the driveway, but the rest of it is not. So we would have to, it would be an enormous expense, and we'd have to rip apart the entire backyard in order to do so. But if we were to move it back to 10 feet from the septic, which I can do by code, it would move it back another, if I had to make an educated guess, I would say another 15 feet. And it would put the front of the garage roughly 3/4 of the way past the house. And something like that would totally work. and I'm totally open to moving it back. I just want it to live kind of in this corner over here because it's easily accessible from the driveway and I'm not disrupting the septic system. And I'm totally open to that.
Yeah. Well, I think it would also, in terms of the view corridor going down the street, the way the houses present themselves, it's nice to see the houses from a 3/4 angle as you approach them. And I think it adds to the character of, all of the houses, yours, mine, and all the other abutters. So I guess the other question I'd have relative to the septic, the septics were about 35 years old. I remember one of the former owners who put it in. I'm thinking as you look down the road on this property, at some point in time, that septic, that's a field that might change. So I don't know if that's something you could think about. I think it a little bit further back than the 15. I mean, I have to look at a sort of an overall plan overlay, like showing your property, my property, the Kennedys, just to get a sense of the cadence, the rhythm of the streetscape. Kind of hard to tell just from looking at.
Yeah, I would also agree that, when you're looking at these structures from an angle, it's important as you're going by, like you said, to see it on an angle. So you see all aspects of the home. I think that's important. And when we do the addition, that's something we're really going to think about because you're going to see it all over in this area, right?
Right.
That's why we specifically stepped that third car garage, that third bay back, because we wanted, when you were looking at it from an angle here, we wanted to have this be the prominent structure here. Sorry. Not the entire structure. So in other words, it's almost like this is hiding behind this corner from the viewpoint of the street. So if we were to move it back, say 15 feet, roughly 10 feet within the septic, you would see it even less because this area would get smaller. The area that you would see through would then become more narrow, and you would only see more of the front two doors and less of this the further we brought it back.
Right. No, and that's a good point. And you're looking at it from the southeast from the approach. I'm looking at it from the northeast as I approach going south on Main Street or going north on Main Street into my driveway and moving it back would, now I'd have the 3/4 perspective on my house in the L on the side of my house.
Well,
So,
the biggest
I think
benefit is that you
moving it
wouldn't
back
be-
is an
you wouldn't be
improvement.
looking at
I don't know
our
what the
trash cans
dimension
anymore.
is, but I think setting it back is an improvement. We could figure out what the dimension is.
I'd like to hear from the other commissioners. We haven't heard from either. Daniel, are you still with us?
Still here. Thank you.
What's your
PJ, thanks for walking through that. It was definitely helpful to hear perspective. One of the things that kind of strikes me though is, you guys talk about wanting to be here long term, and I don't doubt that. It's a great house, and you have a lot of ideas, and clearly you're in the business, and you know what you're doing. So the only thing that I kind of wish is, you're talking about multiple projects, and I don't know, maybe you have done this, but it's almost like I wish we were seeing a master plan and saying, hey, we're actually coming for this at this moment. It sounds like you've started thinking this out, and I'd hate to piecemeal this over the course of 2-3 years without really that big master plan perspective. I mean, you're certainly entitled to do it that way. But it's just, I don't know, does the current septic support your future addition? Is that going to have to get touched anyway? Is it, those things? I'm sure you have answers to those questions.
I mean, I would say at this point right now, it's really cost, right? To get all of those plans drawn and to try to do all the work at once is not something that we can do at this time. So to kind of come with this first project, I think will then also help us determine kind of like how much bigger we really want to make our house. We're definitely not looking to build something that's like completely out of the realm of a historic home. I love our house. I love the character of the inside, the small rooms. It does not have an open floor plan, which I actually love about our house. And so to kind of keep that same character as we, build our garage and, a future addition. But for right now, it's really comes down to cost.
Yeah. And I also will say that we don't want to build anything like, if we're going to talk master plan here, what we build is not going to, as the addition, is not going to dwarf the house. And I mean, I'm even talking about doing all the interior doors with salvage slab doors with original hardware and not doing modern doors. Like, that's the level that we want to go to keep the integrity of the home. We're even talking about sourcing, old pine floors and really trying to bring it to have the addition feel like you're walking out of a historic home into another historic wing that might be newer, right? That's our goal. But the septic system is maxed out on bedroom counts, so we can't add bedrooms. So when we do the addition, it's really about bathrooms and kids being in their own bedrooms instead of sharing a room. So the septic is fine, and we had the septic inspected when we moved in, and actually we found some problems that the inspector didn't, and we repaired them ourselves. And it's in good shape. There's no problems with it at all. So there's really no reason to think that we'd have to do anything to it. So I'm really trying to avoid touching it. I do think, like Lizzie said, it's just really expensive to get stuff drawn and to do this stuff. So we kind of took it as a two-step phase. It's obviously it'd be nice to see the master plan, but we're just not there yet. So
maybe what we should do now is to step back into our own realm, which is the view from the street and public rights of way. What you plan to do inside now or later is very interesting, but not our purview right now. So I'd like to hear from Justin about the thoughts of moving the barn back behind the house. However we could do it. I don't know. You're the only one.
I've been persuaded by a number of the speakers that the importance of the positioning of the garage to the character of the neighborhood there. So the value of finding whatever way the homeowner sees fit to move it back, I think would make a certificate just easier and easier to approve. So if there, whether it be considerations regarding the septic that might have in mind future expansion support. But as I've been looking at Google Maps and looking at the positioning of the buildings in the neighborhood and I can see exactly what the abutters have talked about in terms of the view corridors and the sort of the nature of the positioning of the buildings. So I think anything to the farther back you could move it and still have it be the sort of project that you're after would make it just easier and easier to approve.
Yeah.
So what I would propose is I'd like to go back, have my survey engineer reposition it, and have my rendering artist size it accordingly with the distance. I might even have him change the angle so that we have a secondary angle where you can see from both sides. I mean, the right side, again, is all going to be woods. I understand in the winter it's not as full. And Gary's house is way more in front of where it would be. So coming from that direction, I don't think it's as impactful of a view. I think the coming from the south is really where you're going to see it. So what I'll do is I'll go back, I'll have Cavanero reposition it appropriately. I may even turn it a little bit so that you see even less of it. And then I'll have my rendering artist redo the rendering and we'll go from there.
Madam Chair, may I just say there are two other abutters who would like to speak.
Oh, good. Okay.
We have Mary Tondorf Dick has had her hand up for quite a while. And let's see, the O'Cones.
Okay. Why don't we start with Mary? What would you like to tell us?
Hi, I'm Mary Tondorf Dick, and I live next door at 1029 Main Street. First of all, I think the presentation of the photographs and the renderings and the plans are very professional and appreciate seeing those. I had just a question about the scale of the garage, and I don't know, not having, not being a regular member of or attendee at this type of meeting, I don't know if this is even a question on the table, but looking at the two structures as outlined on the plan, while one of them has a full second floor and the other one has a half a second floor, they do really look very comparable in size, at least according to these drawings. And I wondered if the scale was dictated by desire or need, or I also questioned the need for a second floor. Again, thinking of the scale of the structure compared to the scale of the house and how it represents on the streetscape. So I just wanted to toss those two things out.
Thank you. Paul, you want to answer that?
I mean, I think that the second floor on the left was really a result of the desire to have the second floor on the right, because I intend to have 2 car lifts in there. As I said, I'm going to be storing classic cars for my family that we don't want to sell. My dad has a 66 Corvette he had since 1969. And so that's one of the two. So we were going to have 2 lifts in there, which is why I wanted the cathedral ceiling. And architecturally, it just didn't look great with the lower left half. So that's why we had that room upstairs. That was really the motivation there, was because of the car lifts, the practicality reason.
Yeah, I didn't understand about the lifts.
Yeah.
We just don't want to have all the cars outside, you know?
Yeah. And so I could look into, I mean, that's really the motivation. And then go ahead.
I think as you look at the old barns in your neighborhood, and I'm, another mile down the street, but they're all 2-story. They had to have all kinds of hay up on the second floor to feed the horses on the first floor and all that. But
including our barn has a second story. It's a full height ceiling up there. We have almost a 10 or 11 foot ceiling in the front of the upstairs of the barn.
Well, if you were to add to the old original barn, is there any way you could drive to the side of your septic system, but get a car through back to that area?
I could, but to be totally honest, I love the look of that historic barn, the way it sits, and I'd hate to ruin it, to be honest. I just really love the way that it sits on the lot. I think it's a really great looking barn, and I'd hate to sabotage it. I'd like to just leave it the way it is.
I don't think we have a picture of that, do we? I mean, that you could see it's.
To be honest, I bet I could find it on Zillow really quickly. Hold on a second.
Well, what I'm thinking of is, instead of what's been designed so far, which sort of mimics a lot of the architectural details of the house, and I understand that. Again, if you go up and down the street and walk down everybody's driveway, what you're going to see is a big, simple, quote, barn structure. And no fancy stuff, no.
Is that showing the overhead?
Sort of, yeah. So what if you
Yes,
put
so-
an addition to the right of that or attached to it or something? Would that work?
So this is an old photo. We have cleared all of these trees. This is all massive lawn now.
Yeah.
And the area that I want to do the area that I want to do is in this area. And you can see this beautiful tree here that I'm trying not to disturb.
Right.
Which is why I have, like, if I were to outline it, the garage as planned sits right about here.
And I would say that tree is some of the main screening that Gary and ourselves have between our 2 houses.
So what I'm saying is I could move it further back. I am going to have to trim the tree, which is fine. And I could have it sit kind of here instead. There you go. That's the barn that we currently have.
Yeah.
And I love it the way it is. Like I would hate to cannibalize it.
Even just putting an addition on the right side of it.
Well, we do have you can't tell, this is all so overgrown that we do have this little old it looks dilapidated here that I'm refurbishing, and it looks great, and we don't want to block the sight line of that right now. And then we do have a work, shed back here that we access with a gravel drive. I put some gravel right here.
The
What
thing
is that?
If we added like a 2-bay garage right there, because you can't drive a car into this current structure, it would basically take up half of our yard in the back.
I see.
Which I just don't think would look
Right here.
great, to be honest. I mean, I don't know, that's not what you really care about in the back, but
Well, why don't we let you have another think on the approach that you initially brought and consider the comments that we've had so far.
Madam Chair, I'm sorry, Justin, we do have another abutter to listen to. So Mr. and Mrs., is it Mr. and Mrs. O'Connor?
Yes.
I'm trying to see.
Hi.
What? O'Cone, okay.
Ocone, yes, hi.
And your address, please?
12 Gardner Street.
Okay.
We're literally right next to Gary. So I think the structure looks beautiful, and your presentation is really nice too. And I don't think this is going to happen, but I'm just putting in my 2 cents that because you're all talking about moving the structure back. My concern would just be how far back, because I would really prefer that it does not go beyond, where Gary's barn ends. I don't think I think we're talking within that frame, but I'm not sure.
I actually don't even want it anywhere near there. What I'm proposing to avoid the septic is the back of it would be around the front of his barn. Conceptually,
At like the
that's where,
furthest back,
at
I
the
think,
furthest
yeah.
back, yeah.
because otherwise we'd be putting a driveway straight through the existing yard,
I didn't think so. I just wanted to clarify.
Well, and to be honest, that's not going to look great from your lot either.
Right. Well, that's exactly why I'm voicing that concern.
Yeah.
No, that seems reasonable, having the back of the barn, close to the front of my barn, step them, not have them in a row. I could see that, and that I think would address your concerns, Pat.
I think that's a good compromise for everybody. We don't have to mess with the septic. We don't have to put a driveway all the way back. We don't hurt your view. We get it off the street. We see less of the profile. I think that's probably the best compromise here for sure.
Anybody else? Well, I really appreciate you guys listening to us and considering our thoughts on it. If you'd be willing to go back and make some adjustments to whatever you think could work, and we'll schedule you back in for whenever you can to come before.
Of course.
That sounds good. I'll turn it around quickly and I'll work with Andrea to get on the next call.
That would be terrific.
All right. Thanks all.
Thank you very much.
Take care.
Thank you very much, everybody.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, we have some minutes to approve. Has everybody?
Yes, we do.
December 9th meeting minutes. I caught 2 boo-boos. Did anybody just read it?
Oh, boo-boos. It's
I just
probably
wanted to
my
show you I read
boo-boos.
it. Yeah. So this disclaimer thing that we have to read in the beginning, saying why we're zooming and all that. It's a longer version than what got put in those minutes, which I do not have right in front of me. But maybe it doesn't matter what section it came of, Mass General Law, blah, blah, blah. Does that need to be in there?
I think it probably should, so we'll add that.
Okay, the second thing is, and I don't have it right in front of me, listing Sean Papish. He's listed as landscape and architect, and he'd be the first to tell you that's not right. He's a landscape architect. It's not two.
That's correct. And where is that?
I'm sorry, I didn't print it out, so I don't have it right.
Oh, that's okay. We'll find it.
It's the one page read. It was towards the end, I guess.
Yeah, I think it's
That's
down
fine.
on 392 Main Street.
Yes.
Oh, good. Thank you.
And, oh, by the way, I love the addition of the list of meeting materials.
Yeah.
Yes, that was great. Brilliant, Tracy.
Such good minutes. Thank you.
You know that's an open meeting
Really
law
terrific.
requirement, actually.
Thank you.
Ah,
Yeah.
That's
yeah.
So,
he's-
all the more
Daniel
to
is
love.
right.
I know that from my previous committee, and we got our hands hit for not doing
Yeah.
that.
Some people watch this stuff like a hawk and they really want to know.
Yeah, well, that's good. Thank you, Tracy.
Anybody want to say anything else? Tracy, Mr. Tracy, I expect you to be in top shape for the next meeting. Take back your job, which is February 17th, I gather. And Andrew,
Yes,
you're gonna let us.
I'll be home.
Oh, good.
He'll
And
be
healthy.
there.
And healthy. And Andrew, you're going to set up some site visit dates.
Yes, I will do that. Thank you.
Terrific. Anybody?
I can make a
else?
motion to adopt the meeting minutes as presented and amended by Carol.
Thank you. Seconded?
Thank you.
All in favor?
Aye,
Aye.
Who seconded?
Go ahead.
I did, Justin.
Thank you.
Okay. Anybody want to offer us a motion to call it quits tonight?
So moved.
Seconded?
Second.
We
Okay.
have to take a roll call vote.
Okay. Justin?
Aye.
Mary Ann?
I'm not a voting member.
Oh, that's right. Okay. You only play one on Zoom, right? And let's see.
Tracy?
Tracy?
Aye.
Daniel?
Aye.
Carol? Aye.